Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592, the website at allamericangold.com. And welcome to Tuesday. I hope it finds you well. A lot of things to cover today. But first, a couple of announcements. The stream for 1360, it appears to be back. Was a maintenance issue with our streaming provider, and, well, everything always takes a little longer. But it just came back on not too long ago, probably about an hour ago or so. So that's back up. Hopefully everybody will be able to get back on okay. We've been testing it all morning. Looks like it's pretty good. So hopefully, we'll go another 6 or 8 months before they do more maintenance and break it again. But that's back up. CBD, I got, wow, the retinol cream. I got some really great feedback. And these are people that they've only been taking it 3, 4, 5 days. If you want to look younger, I guess that's the trend. I get it. Right? I mean, everybody's got a camera. You're always being watched, all that stuff. And of course, any CBD order, any CBD order, you're going to get a free lip balm for the rest of the month. So keep that in mind. Go out to 1360 KHNC and hit the shopping cart button. Don't forget, we got a blog page out there. Check that out. Go to our podcast section. We've even got some podcasts that aren't on the radio. I know one, we're doing a series of unsolved mystery podcast and things of that nature. So get out to 1360, check it out. We've always got stuff going on out there for everybody to enjoy. Did you see? I mean, obviously riots again. Did you see the video where the police pulled over a suspect? And this is really getting frustrating now because yesterday, and I didn't talk about it yesterday because I hadn't seen it yet, but all over the internet, and of course, they love to ban stuff, right? They were saying that they pulled him over for having a air freshener on his mirror. And apparently in Minnesota, that's illegal. I'm not sure, doesn't make sense to me, but okay, whatever. Come to find out, that's not why they pulled him over. They pulled him over because his tags were expired. Common reason. Nobody was acting inappropriately. And he had a warrant for his arrest. I don't know why. The officer that was placing him in handcuffs, what was funny? It was like, he seems to be struggling with it a little bit. I believe that officer was a rookie and he was being trained. And then for, who knows why, the young man decides he wants to bolt. Doesn't want to get the cuffs put on him, and he breaks free from the officer, gets back into his car, and you could hear the other officer, a female officer, saying, taser, 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 as, letting her fellow officers know, hey, I'm going to tase this guy, and come to find out she didn't have the taser. She had grabbed the pistol and shot him once, and we all know what's happened since then, but obviously a horrible accident. Because that's what it shows, and I have no reason to doubt that that's what happened, was an accident. But we're at this point now where it doesn't matter, right? People want to riot and loot and do all those things, and the media has built up this whole, I guess, social injustice, if you will, and I don't understand it all. Every metrics that you looked at for violent crimes and all these other things, police shootings, we're all way down, way down. And now, of course, every one of them gets highlighted. But this was It was a terrible accident. Listen, I feel my heart goes out to that family. I don't know why the young man was bolting, and I think a lot of us view it the same way. Does that mean he deserved it? I know he didn't, and I don't think I'm not a cop. I don't know where the taser and the gun, are they that close? Are they that similar? Heat of the moment, whatever it is. But I hope cooler heads prevail. It's one of these things, though, again, where I think too many people now are not understanding what the realities are, what the facts are, and of course, they only want you to know just enough, right, of what they want and not really the whole thing. And it's unfortunate. The reason, what's funny, I think the reason why this video came out so fast compared to others, right, is because truly it looked like just a terrible accident. And the whole thing, I guess she has been a cop for a long time, and she was training a rookie, which I'm assuming was the guy trying to put the cuffs on, because it did look like he was having a little harder time doing that. But nonetheless, now I'm told that the protests are spreading again and all that stuff, and hopefully this will stop, but I don't think so. Listen, we're on this path of violence and protest and civil war and all these other things because the media wants us to be divided. I don't understand why, right? When we get back, we got a lot to talk about. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Oh, man. Just all of this stuff that's happening, from even the border and everything else, it's just a mess. Horrible numbers out. And really, let's call it what it is. The news I'm going to tell you right now should probably be banned as fake news because it's not true. But they want you to believe that the news I'm going to tell you right now is true. And they're going to repeat it ad infinitum all day long today. And tell you how it's not so bad. So what are we talking about? We're talking about we had the consumer price index numbers come out today. Now, of course, this is the government and the Federal Reserve. Okay, so the Bureau of Labor Statistics, right, they gather all the data. And I don't know if they gathered the data. My guess is the Fed banks gathered the data. They run it through their BS calculators and came out with this number today. Headline inflation, and this was a March number, rose to 2.6%. Now that's headline. Okay, now of course they tell us how inflation is nowhere near 2%. And I here's what I'm telling you. Inflation is nowhere near 2.6%. I mean, it's just not true. It's a lie. It's a misrepresentation. But it makes them feel better about what it is that they're doing. And you know what? I'm going to prove it to you today that it's a lie. And not the way you think that I'm going to do it, but let's just break it down. Okay? So here's what they came out. Headline 2.6%, which was up 0.6% in a month. And that was, they were expecting 0.5. Okay. Yeah, okay, whatever. Now, by the way, that was the highest year-over-year gain since August of 2018. Again, what a load of crap. Okay? Well above the 1.7% reading in February, blah, blah, blah. They said that gasoline was the big culprit, surging 9%. And they said that was half of the move. Really? So you're telling me record housing prices, record new car prices, record used car prices, record lumber, record copper, record this, record that? By the way, energy prices up 13.2% from a year ago. But here's the great part. They don't care about that. Okay, even that number, they don't care about it. Gasoline prices up 22.5% from a year ago. Energy prices up 13.2% from a year ago. Now remember, the headline number was only up 2.6%. How about food? Well, after they get done with food, they said it was up a tenth, with just a 1/10. Don't you wish you could go to Walmart or Kroger or wherever, Safeway, and bring them out a receipt from March of 2020 and say, hey, listen, I'm going to buy the exact same items. I got my gallon of milk, I got my hamburger, I got my steaks, I got my cereal, right? I got my orange juice, right? I got my refried beans, my tortillas. And then have them ring you up. Then, of course, you'll see, whoa. And just a loose guesstimate. We're probably paying, I don't know, 5, 10, maybe 15% more today. And then show them this. Well, you know, they said it's only up 0.1%. Don't you wish it worked that way? But no, they said food prices for the whole year were only up 3.5%. Because you know why? What they say is, well, you'll just buy cheaper stuff. Right? If the Lucky Charms are too expensive, you'll buy the generic Lucky Charms. See? That's not, so therefore, ergo, there's no inflation. Now, of course, the bad part is if you're already buying the generic Lucky Charms and their price went up, I don't know, I guess you're out of luck. They said that food at home category increased 3.3%. All 6 of the government measures of the grocery store indexes. I love how we got 6. 6? Shouldn't there just be 1? Right? Does it cost more or not? But, you know, we got to have 6. All of them rose. The biggest gain was 5.4% in the category of meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. You know, who eats that stuff, right? Nobody eats that. If that was up 5.4%, how can, you know, anyway. How about this one? Food away from home. Up 3.7%. Wow. I'd like, show me the place. Show me the restaurant where the prices only went up 3%. Show it to me. That includes, by the way, pickup, takeout, and delivery restaurants. By the way, I'm sorry. My bad. Limited service meals, which include pickup, takeout, delivery restaurants, jumped 6.5%. By the way, that was the largest annual increase in the survey's history, dating to 1997. Now, this survey's been going on a lot longer than 1997. But that was just when they changed the way it worked. Again. To make it appear lower. So my question is, and again, how did they end up with pickup, takeout, delivery restaurants up 6.5, but food away from home was only up 3.7. How does that work? Well, they put it in their little bullcrap machine, right? I almost said a different word. But when you take out the volatile food and energy, see, it's very volatile. So let's just take that out, because we all know that everyone will be dead without food and energy, but so what? We don't count that. The core CPI, this is the Fed favorite, it was only up 0.3. And according to the central bank, and notice how I say the central bank, because they're the ones that write the formulas. The government just collects the data. Inflation was up 1.6%. That's it. See? It's well below their 2% mandate, or their target. We don't have to worry about inflation at all. And I'm thinking, man, if they're still saying there's no inflation now, is there ever going to be inflation? I don't know if it's even mathematically possible. But like I said, I don't want to just stick to simple numbers like that to say, hey, see this, there's no way this dog hunts. But let me give you some other information. And this is great. And how they keep these prices so low. Shelter index, which used to be known as, home prices. Which I think I told you last month. They got rid of that in like 2000. The shelter index rose 0.3% in March. And again, why is this not being this should be blocked. It should be banned. That's not true. Anybody in Colorado or Arizona or anywhere else think, I mean, maybe, and I don't even think it's true anymore, like New York and San Francisco, maybe. But the index for owner's equivalent rent and the index for rent, so you got multiple indexes again. They weren't up that much. They were only up a couple of tenths. And they said in the last year, shelter inflation went from 1.47 to 1.7. That's it. Yep. 0.2, 2.3, 0.23. Which, by the way, that's the highest since last year, 2020. Meanwhile, rent inflation, according to the way the government collects this data, in the last year, rent's actually fallen, according to the government. I mean, I'm not making that up. By the way, rents is now the lowest since 2011. Excuse me? Where has this happened? Show me anywhere in the country where I can rent a shelter for less than I could 10 years ago. Forget about last. I mean, you can't even do it less than last year, but from 10 years ago. I can't make it up. Now, again, that's still not my proof. But I want you to know this is the absolute nonsense that you have to believe. For them not to be screwing us right in the backside. Because remember, anybody who's done it right, you're saving money, you're getting screwed. because they keep saying there's no inflation. Matter of fact, how could, by the way, what category do they use for the core when it comes to shelter? Oh, yes, that rent equivalent number. The number that, according to these super highly intelligent, right, read more books, probably have never had a real job. Well, Ben Bernanke, Ben Bernanke, he waited tables for a summer, right? Janet Yellen's never done anything ever except work for the government. Now we got Jay Powell coming out on 60 Minutes yesterday, guaranteeing you inflation's just transitory. Yes, we can all rent places for less than we could 10 years ago. Just ask them. 800-951-0592. I mean, disgusting, wrong. Other words, I don't have a big enough vocabulary. I just want to use curse words describing the peddling of nonsense, right? And I look at the shooting, the accidental shooting, because that's what it was. It was an accident. Terrible. Don't get me wrong. Terrible accident. If he had simply been arrested like they were trying to do, he'd still be alive today, period. Right? Instead, he decided, I don't know why. But neither here nor there. You've got the squad members out there just going crazy, talking about end of policing altogether. Listen, it's coming. Believe me, it's coming. You think that you're immune, and just because your city hasn't been hit by the rioters, just wait. It's just a matter of time. And it's just a matter of time before all of these lies, all of these creative accounting measures that the central bank has used to misrepresent the facts catches up to us. See, it doesn't catch up to them. It catches up to us. So I can sit there and I can tell you, okay, here's what you got to believe according to the numbers now. There's no inflation in automobiles at all, and there hasn't been for over 20 years. Huh. Wow. How did this happen? Because every time I tell you about autos, what do I tell you? New vehicle prices, all-time record highs. Used vehicle prices, all-time record highs. Monthly payments for new cars, all-time record high. Monthly payment for used vehicles, all-time record high. No inflation. And it just happens to coincide with, well, when did that inflation stop? Oh, it stopped when you changed the formula. Now today, the load of crap you need to believe is that it is cheaper to rent. Well, I got to be careful here because I don't want to get banned for telling you something not true. Rent equivalent. And again, I'm not sure what that means, but again, rent equivalent is the cheapest in 10 years. Which I guess, hey, listen, if all of us are homeless, then it works. Or maybe it's because, maybe it's because 10% of the country's not paying the rent. I don't know. That's not why, by the way, but it makes no sense. See, but they need it to be that way so they can justify this asinine theory that we can just spend into oblivion. A couple of weeks ago, the central bank stopped reporting the money supply. But before they did, they released their final M1 number. And this is, for those of you who are like, well, what's money supply? What does that mean? What is Joe talking about as far as money supply? And this is just simply creating of money out of thin air, right? Someone takes out a loan, right? Boom, okay, there's some money added, right? Government issues some debt, there's some money added. To give you an idea of what the M1 used to be, and you know me, I always like to go back to 1971, because that's when the bankers really got super control of this thing. But the money supply in 1971 was like 200 billion. M1, 200 billion. And it didn't get to 400 billion until 1980. It didn't get to $1 trillion until 1992. It got to, and I'm scrolling here, so I apologize. But just so you know, and of course there's M1, there's M2, and there's M3. This is just M1. April 1st, 2020. The M1 was $4.7 trillion. Do you want to know what it is today? Now think about this. In 1971, it was 200 billion. By 2020, April 1st, it was 4.7 trillion. So 1 year, well, actually, not even a year later, because they only show February 1st of this year. $18.4 trillion. I'm not making it up. They've increased the M1 money supply by over 400% and did it in 10 months. And this is what they're trying to tell you. We all know, everybody knows. Anybody with an IQ higher than room temperature knows. Only one thing can happen when you create all of that money out of thin air. And it just tells you all the underhanded things that are going on. Because right now, the central bank, they're going to admit that their balance sheet is $8 trillion in the next 60 days. Okay? They're going to admit that in the next 60 days, that it's $8 trillion. But they're saying, it started out at like $4 trillion. It was actually like 3.8 trillion, but we're splitting hairs. So, okay, there's 4 trillion of money supply. Where's the rest? Where is it? And this is all you need to know. This is something the world's never seen this. Ever. You're talking about a jump in the money supply that going back since they kept records the world has ever seen. And this is why all of these numbers are fantasy land make-believe. And I hope this alerts you enough that you need to prepare. You need to get ready. 800-951-0592. So now this is the second thing they've hidden from us. We no longer know how much money banks are borrowing every day from the Fed window. I'm guessing it's probably $1 trillion or two. That problem has never gone away. They just stopped reporting it. They did that last June. Now they've said, hey, we're not going to tell you about the money supply anymore either. Now, when I first started working here, that was something that was printed every month, and they would talk about it on TV. Then they stopped talking about it on TV because the Fed told them to stop talking about it. It no longer matters. Matter of fact, we're not even going to do the calculation because you take the M1 plus the M2 to get to the M3 and we're going to stop doing that. But they kept reporting the money supply. It already, we went from 4 trillion to 18 trillion, and now you've stopped reporting it. How high is it going to go? See, if it was going to level out at this 18 trillion, because the money supply, it was going up the M1. Okay, remember, you still got the M2, but the M1 is going up about $200 billion a year or so. It had been doing that, $200-300 billion a year for, like 20 years. And now they're going to take it away. And I'm thinking to myself, what's the number going to be? If going from 4 trillion to 18 trillion wasn't scary enough, where's it going? 30? 40? 60? I don't know. But again, it just highlights what's really happening here. When you take the money supply and increase it by 400%, you're looking, you want a massive devaluation. This is what's coming. And that's what inflation really is. See, we kind of get it wrong because we feel like inflation is hey, everything costs more. It's not really right. Yes, you need more dollars for this item, but the item didn't change. The amount of money you need to buy the item changed. And why would that change? The answer is because we keep printing the money. There's so much of it now that everybody's starting to worry. Google today said one of the hottest trends in Google search, when is the housing market going to crash? They say that search is up almost 2,500% just in the last month. And again, listen, it's coming. We know it's coming. You know it's coming. I know it's coming. Be ready. Be prepared before it happens. I've got 50 U.S. $10 Liberties. These are the half ounce. They're at $995. So $995 on a half ounce gold piece today at 800-951-0592. Here's the way I look at it. We just increased the money supply 400%. So I'm taking gold at 1740. That puts I'm putting gold at about 7,000. That's what I see. And here's the point. They just stopped reporting it. So I don't know what March's number is. It's not on there. It's gone. What did it say? I'm just thinking to myself, well, if it said 18.3 or 18.4, 18.5, why take it off? What did it say? 20? 25? 30? Right? And this is 7,000 just on the last number they gave us. But we know it's going higher. And just just in simple terms, let's just say it was 25. Okay, then you're probably looking at a gold price over 10,000. Right, just following the money supply and just the M1 money supply. Right now, gold's up a dozen today. 1743, 1744. Silver's having a nice day. It's up about 55 cents, 25.38. The Dow is down 170 points. The S&P and the NASDAQ are higher today. Crude oil back above $60 a barrel. The 10-year note pretty much unchanged, even with the quote-unquote hotter inflation, because when you take out food, energy, and you use these ridiculous formulas, they're still only at 1.6. So the 10-year note at 1.65. And again, remember what I told you. 1.65%. And headline inflation, headline today was 2.6%. So you're telling me people are spending hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars buying U.S. treasuries and losing 1%? Well, that math doesn't hunt either, does it? 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. It's not possible. You can't increase the money supply 400% and then tell us inflation's 1.6. That math don't work. And that we all know it. And those are the then of course now they're going to get rid of that. Hey, we can't put that out there. Double J may tell people. Right? People may know. I just wonder how bad it is. Because they took it off for a reason. I bet you. I wouldn't be surprised if that number now, that M1 money supply, isn't maybe 25 trillion, maybe 30. Yesterday, and listen, we do this every day. We had to sell off $96 billion of debt. Think about it. You do that every day. You talk about like half a $1 trillion in a week. 38 billion of it was a 10-year auction. They said they got just enough demand to avoid puke. And of course, we know we've been struggling with a lot of these auctions lately. The bid to cover 2.36. So low. I wouldn't be surprised at some point in the future here, maybe even before the end of this year's out, we're going to have bid to covers below 2. And that gets dangerous. Remember, if you don't get enough bids, right, the auction fails. The last 5 months have averaged 2.39. So, again, we're just on this slope down. Every 5 months it gets a little lower, a little lower, a little lower. Right, again, though, how do you go bankrupt? Gradually, suddenly. Here was the internals of the auction. Indirect bidders took down 59.6. They usually, and this is recently, they used to take like 70, 80% of the auction, 60%. So in line, again, we're seeing less demand. The direct bidders, almost nothing, 16%, which meant the dealers, and this has been the problem. The dealers were holding almost 25% of the auction. This is, if you were going to grade the auction, this is probably a C-, right? And this is really what we've been seeing in these auctions, and no one wants to talk about it. And I'm worried about this money supply thing, because that's more debt we've got to sell. How are we going to do it all? I don't know. They can lie about inflation and they can spit it out, and they can this is fake news they want you to hear. I mean, it's one thing about car prices. because, okay, well, I guess it's got a backup camera and it beeps at you and I don't, whatever, you can play a movie. But you're trying to spin that we can rent places for less than what we could 10 years ago? Are you kidding me? By the way, if you go back to 2000 when they made the housing change and went back to that number, remember last month I told you it was 3.8%. 4.4% would be the inflation number today. That would have been the number today had you gone to the house back, when they used actual prices. Stuff like that. And why use actual when you can make stuff up? Listen, $10 Liberty Store going fast. $9.95 today at 800-951-0592. Take care, everybody. God bless. We'll be back tomorrow.